When it comes to DC and Marvel, their properties are pretty different. Different down to the core of what makes up each individual person or even fundamental concepts for each verse. Fans often speculate exactly on how the characters of DC would react to the main Marvel universe or its people, concepts, or even events that the different figures have faced and have occurred throughout their timeline. In JLA Avengers, we get a glimpse of what the heroes of DC would basically think of the world of Marvel. What do you think that they will believe? How will they look at the humans of Earth? I promise it's not what you think, nor is it what you believe. It's probably more wild to consider that the fact that it's the very icon of DC, the very symbol of hope, Superman, is at the forefront of the vitriolic monologues in this run that would make beings like Sinestro proud. Let's explore a different time when crossovers were allowed to be fun. Let's talk about the Justice League Avengers crossover. What's up guys, it's me Lumos Theromax, and today we discuss how the heroes of DC look at the world and the heroes of the Marvel multiverse. Revisiting this comic for the first time in a very long time is actually pretty wild, and I'm glad it took the extra time to do so. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to support my content further. Become a member of the Theromax Corps today, because it's pretty easy and it locks all sorts of cool and extra features, so be sure to sign up now if you possibly can. And I also have another video in the works spawning and spiraling outside of this specific large-scale crossover, and I hope you guys are interested to see exactly my thoughts on Krona wandering through Marvel in a separate video. So before we go any further, just know for all you crazy comic weebs out here, hey, I mean, this is just things that happen directly inside the comic itself. They also have Marvel doing the same thing, so this isn't me just like, you know, memeing out or anything exclusive. This is just something that happens inside this comic, so don't stress too hard on any jabs that happen between DC and Marvel, okay? But to catch you up to speed inside this story, in the JLA Avengers crossover, due to the machinations of this goon called Krona, who is a rogue mad guardian of the universe, basically a war between the heroes of the multiverse of DC and the heroes of the multiverse of Marvel kind of broke out, and the forces of the Justice League wanted to do some recon on their competition, as they were tasked by some other poozer named the Grandmaster to do so. He claimed that they were inside this multiversal game for the fate of their multiverse, and they must grab some powerful artifacts before the opposing creation can, in order to survive and overcome the opposing multiverse that is being slammed upon theirs. So the Justice League travels to Marvel's Earth, right? And they see the various places and figures that exist across all of Marvel and its world. The first place they choose to visit is a place called Latveria, where it's clear Dr. Doom, their leader, uses fear to enforce his will across the land. Massive totalitarianism roams this Earth, but the heroes of DC have to ask themselves, why don't the heroes of this Earth stop them? The second place they visit is a place called Genosha, not long after the mutant massacre. How could the heroes of this world let a massacre, no, a genocide like this, comparable to Hiroshima according to Wonder Woman, happen? Martian Manhunter says the scans on these bombs indicate that they were specifically designed for genetic mutants, a genocide for the crime of being different. How could the heroes of this Earth let it happen? But still, they move on. The third place they visit is Michigan, where a Hulk rampages with an entire army unable to stop him. Superman wishes to step forward to help, but they don't want to get involved in this Earth's affairs. Do they? The fourth was New York, as the Punisher relentlessly murders an entire faction of drug dealers. Batman was never one for guns, but murder? How could they allow murder? Here, after witnessing everything, all of the heroes of DC regroup. However, it's Superman who loses it about the Marvel Universe, its heroes, and its world. How can their heroes just stand aside and watch these horrible acts, these horrible things happen? How can they not do better? How can they allow such violence? It's then that Superman decides they need to get these wildly powerful artifacts out of their hands, out of the hands of anyone in the Marvel Universe, because those from the Marvel Universe can't be trusted to use these powers whatsoever. Later on, after getting teleported away, Superman says that the Marvel Universe and its heroes are not impressive. not with the world that they've built, nor their achievements that he's seen so far. He considers all of the heroes of Marvel as dangerous, pretty much lunatics. Finally, Superman and the Justice League confront the heroes of Marvel after they visit the DC reality. Superman says their invasion stops here and that they've let their own sorry, disgraceful, in shambles world, and that they aren't going to let them bring that madness inside their world too. Superman here basically said, your failures are so viral, we have to contain you. We have to quarantine you back to your home realm because you're gonna make us look bad and contaminate us here. Holy cow. Continuing on, Superman suddenly, I don't know, goes like full on injustice and tells them they need to stand down and be arrested. Superman acts so out of character here that even Plastic Man is like, yo, Superman's acting like way out of pocket, dude. Like, what is this? Why is he on like the Sasuke edgelord grind right now? But you know, it's that same Plastic Man that takes a dump on Marvel for not having a Metropolis, bro. I don't know, that really seemed to bother him. And I guess it's low-key kind of taking a dump on Marvel here. But Superman later on suggests, after a quick scan of Marvel's entire world, that this Earth is slightly smaller and has fewer cities and fewer urban growth on it than DC's Earth. Then Superman has one of the funniest statements for Marvel that I've ever seen. And man, it is absolutely hilarious. He says, maybe the people from Marvel are just backwards. Like, this world is some sort of like bizarro world that's reverse, like it's the reverse of how it should be, man. Yo, that's comedy gold. Who says Superman can't be funny, right? It's so bad that Wonder Woman says like, yo, that's uncharitable, man. But Martian Manhunter's just like, yeah, that may be true, but like, we got other stuff we got to worry about, so let's just ditch and never talk about this again. And they don't. They just kind of forget about it. Further on in this comic, it's Aquaman who says the heroes in Marvel are just less powerful in general, and their world is stacked against them. Superman says, I get that, but clearly they just don't fight hard enough. Imagine saying everyone in Marvel just doesn't try hard enough, dude. Damn, dude, that's like the most insane roast I think here. This is Superman at like his most uncharitable. It's like it's Superman at his absolute worst. Here, Thor brags about being the god of thunder, and Superman simultaneously takes a dump on both him and Marvel by telling him that he is the small god of a small world before beginning a brawl with the Asgardian. Absolute Chad moment coming out from Clark Kent here. And then, in the middle of the fight, in a scan I could only describe as most likely the origin for Homelander, we have Superman just start yelling back at Thor, whatever helps you sleep at night while you let your world go to hell. Where I come from, lives actually matter, before he blasts him with his heat vision backwards. Superman basically says, you could feel as high and mighty as you want as a god, but everyone in your world is miserable and suffering, and you don't do anything about it. Damn. Superman catches a really heavy hammer swing from Thor, which impresses Thor. Thor goes on to say the mightiest in the 9 realms cannot catch a swing from his hammer. Superman slams him with another dual zinger, saying that he's sorry to disappoint him, but in his world the dials go up to 11. Before throwing him inside, clearly indicating a hidden Gear 11 Superman form. I'm just saying. This is also just a quirky way for Superman to say, yo, we have an entire tier or caliber above you inside our verse, and like outside of yours, man. That's pretty rough. This next one occurs definitely not due to any bias whatsoever, trust me, including the fact that Black Canary is definitely not banging Hawkeye, which triggers Green Arrow into oblivion. So glancing over all of that entirely, we have Green Arrow calling Iron Man a fat cat ex-munitions dealer, and Hawkeye his hired thug who orders Jarvis around like a slave. Oh no. Green Arrow here goes on to say that the Avengers have way lower standards than the Justice League does before stepping away to see who is a better archer. This is comedy, boys. Not only is this just outright hilarious, but like it's just a funny example of how Green Arrow looks towards like pretty much all of Marvel. It's super funny. So this one is like weirdly slightly out of context, but it's still super funny, and I'll give you more context once we're done here. So basically, everyone from both DC and Marvel are all just chilling around, and they've worked with one another in verse now for like years, and everyone's celebrating the latest victory that everyone had. So Thor finds Superman kind of sitting against this window looking out towards space. And Thor looks over to him, puts his hand on his shoulder, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And Superman looks back to him, and his response is like genuinely comedy gold. He looks back and he says, "Who are any of you?" it's just like the absolute disrespect to Superman. Just be like, "You're so forgettable, I don't even know who you are." But really what was going on is these two dimensions were tying with one another, and certain people, the more powerful people with resistances, were starting to remember back the original timeline when these two universes were separate, and now they've been like slammed together. But just out of context, it's super low-key, super funny. He just looks back and he's like, "Who are any of you?" The disrespect. At one point in time, there's a fight that essentially starts brewing between the forces of Marvel and the forces of DC, and Superman tells Captain America to admit it and to drop the phony sanctimonious pose and to tell him the truth or he will shake it out of him. Oh man. Low-key wild Superman behavior inside this comic, dude. This guy's supposed to be like this guy's supposed to be like the embodiment of hope. I want just keep that in mind, boys. It's so wild. And last but not least, we're going to give a shout out to Scarlet Witch here, admitting that the chaos magics inside DC are more OP than Marvel's for like, I don't know, some reason. I thought that was like pretty whack in the middle of nowhere. But I don't know. I just think in general it was a really interesting walk through like the Justice League's first few experiences with like everything inside Marvel. And keep in mind, that's all that these were just like the first few instances of their experiences of viewing things kind of as an outsider whenever it comes to Marvel in general. And as time goes on, things do obviously get better. Like they learn to respect the heroes that exist here and that things are just different. So there's a mutual level of respect that's earned, but it doesn't change the fact that like, man, when they first rolled up, they were pretty low-key judgmental. And I'll admit, with how desperate things get inside the Marvel universe sometimes, it's hard not to look at them and think, yeah, wow, that's wild. I would have done that differently, but in the heat of the moment, man, some of the craziest decisions are made. But I don't know. Tell me what you think down low. Are there some moments I missed? Or are there more things I should cover? Are there different crossovers I should cover? I tell you what. If you guys hit a 100 like goal on this video, I'll do my personal favorite crossover between Marvel and DC, and I'll let you know exactly what I think was popping off in terms of that one. We'll see if in that one specifically that kind of ideology changes whatsoever, but who knows? But I hope you enjoyed this video specifically. Be sure to like and subscribe to both myself and any of the channel homies down in the description. Be sure to check those out, as those are guys I talk to all the time about all sorts of comic book related stuff, and they're honestly just channel homies. So, I mean, do your thing from there. They also rep some pretty sick content, so it is what it is. But with pretty much everything being said, definitely feels like DC painted a very negative picture of Marvel in general, and how that was reflected through the people, I think was very, very interesting. But I guess that's pretty much everything I got to say on the matter. We'll catch you next time, Lanterns, and I hope you're enjoying this first Lumos bomb, as we got one more after this, and that one will be a pretty big banger too, I will imagine. Next time, Lanterns. Later.
Corrupting and creating events that affect the entire verse was the only way she theorized to decimate her source wall curse, and so she whispered madness to her child, the Anti-Monitor, driving him towards his revenge on his brother, the Monitor. A crisis on infant Earths is what he decided to grant, but her children were